Yo, yo, boxing aficionados. What's up? What's going on? Yo, check this out. I'd like to talk about probably one of the most important fights of the day. One of the most important fights of the day, actually, probably the most important fight of the day, if you think about it. And that is the WBA's junior lightweight title matchup involving Hector Luis Garcia versus Roger Gutierrez. This is a very, very, very important fight. Man. The reason why this fight is so important is because it can dictate, where that WBA title goes. Is it going to stay on PBC side of the street and basically stay out of any possible unifications, because PBC is just not known for unifications if it's not within their universe. And this is good stuff. Waterloo flavored watermelon seltzer. It's really good. Anyway, so and it's a shame, right? Because it's like there's a big dread that comes over me anytime that any title falls in PBC hands. I'm wondering how the hell can other fighters, vie for it, right? But I'm not gonna go into that right now. The story of this particular fight is an interesting one. Roger Gutierrez, Golden Boy fighter, versus Hector Luis Garcia, who was with Samson Lukovitz on PBC side of the street. You know what? I'm going to take that back, because when it's with Samson Lukovitz, there is a chance that his fighters will cross streets. We just saw what's his name? The kid from Golden Boy. He just fought Ryan Garcia. Just fought the Dominican, knucklehead Dominican, Fortuna. Right? So Fortuna is a Samson Lukovitz fighter. So Hector Luis Garcia getting this title may not be so bad as far as unifications are concerned. So I'll take that back. I'm not going to be a negative Nancy. There are too many negative Nancys and boxing critics and naysayers on these YouTube channels. So I'm going to try to keep positive. And so this is going to be a good fight. And the story of this fight is that both these fighters, it's not a vacant. Roger Gutierrez beat Rene Alvarado for this title, and it was a very emotional fight. I remember that it took place. I think it was still in. Was it in the bubble times? I think it was. Anyway, Rene Alvarado, was there a lot of COVID testing for that fight? I think it was. But Roger Gutierrez fought Rene Alvarado 3 times. Now, here's the story with this fight, with Rene Alvarado versus Roger Gutierrez. Roger Gutierrez was just there to provide a good fight for Rene Alvarado. Rene Alvarado was the Golden Boy fighter, the house fighter. Roger Gutierrez comes over, put on a good fight. He had already been knocked out by Rene Alvarado prior, a couple of years back, before their next tilt. So he was there as a tune-up. That's what he was there for, provide Rene Alvarado, with a foil. And so it didn't go the way that Golden Boy thought it was going to go. Roger Gutierrez ended up, it was a great fight. Went back and forth. I think it was the fight that Roger Gutierrez, I think his mother died or something like that, and he dedicated to his mother. Very emotional fight, and Roger Gutierrez emerged victorious. And it was an entertaining fight. There was so many punches thrown. And I think there was a couple of knockdowns. It was hard hitting. Pardon me, I don't remember the fight like totally, completely like bing boom. But I do remember that I enjoyed it because I actually watched it on my phone at work. And so it was quite an enjoyable fight. I remember that it was like, wow, they're going off, man. And so Roger Gutierrez emerges victorious. Now, the thing with the WBA is that, the experience that's happened with that 130 belt for the WBA and Golden Boy is a sad one. They had Corrales, and Corrales fought the Puerto Rican guy, Miguel Cotto fighter. I forget his name, but what the WBA decided to do at that point was that they awarded it to Gervonta Jeep Davis out of nowhere. Gervonta Jeep Davis had fought for the regular title and all of a sudden got elevated to the super champ instead of the Puerto Rican guy who had beaten Jezreel Corrales for the real champ. It was disgusting. The WBA was doing some disgusting stuff. Now they're cleaning up their act. Anyway, point is that so this Golden Boy's relationship with that WBA 130 title became murky right then and there. And so when Gutierrez won that title, Golden Boy, the WBA was positioning, and PBC were positioning Chris Colbert to get that title. And there was a lot of fear that from myself and concern that Chris Colbert would be elevated out of nowhere. I mean, they've done it before, right? And then just take that 130 title. But Chris Colbert was in pole position to challenge Roger Gutierrez. It was kind of like having a tournament there, so to speak, to see who emerges. And the man in that division was supposed to be Chris Colbert, right? He was the guy with the little B-hop, man, slick black fighter, and oh boy, mad. What are you talking about? Mad sparring stories of Chris Colbert, the legend of Chris Colbert. Apparently, he was only a legend in sparring because yo no le veo nada a ese tipo. And he ended up fighting Hector Luis Garcia in what was supposed to be a title eliminator for the right to face Roger Gutierrez. And so WBA, fortunately, God saw fit that they start rectifying the errors of their ways, and they played it straight ahead. So Roger Gutierrez became the super champ. Eventually, after fighting Rene Alvarado again, and Chris Colbert had to take on Hector Luis Garcia, who was supposed to be the foil for Chris Colbert. He was supposed to be going in there and make him look good, because Roger Gutierrez was 15-0 with 10 knockouts. So he has knockout power, but it isn't an overwhelming power. He was not known. He wasn't a known commodity. Chris Colbert was the guy with all the buzz. At that point, Chris Colbert was, going back and forth with Shakur Stevenson and saying that he'd be the A side against Shakur because he's with PBC, and it was so ridiculous. But so came the night of the fight against him versus, between Chris Colbert and Hector Luis Garcia. People dismissed Hector Garcia. But Hector Garcia didn't get the memo. Hector Garcia did not get the memo. That man showed up in that ring and commenced to beat up Chris Colbert. Straight up and down. He wasn't trying to hear all that slick crap. He wasn't having any of that. He said, you want to be slick? You're going to be slick on your time. You came to fight. We came to fight. And he pressured him. He pressured him. He put pressure on him, and he busted that pipe. Pressure bust pipes? Well, Chris Colbert was a pipe that got busted. Pressure can do two things. Pressure can bust pipes or create diamonds. I like that. Pressure can bust pipes or create diamonds. And now we all know that Chris Colbert is no diamond. He was no diamond. He was no diamond in the rough. He was no next big thing. He was a guy who once got pressured by a fighter who wasn't intimidated by his quickness or his ring IQ or his fancy footwork or the flashy handwork. Once he got to deal with a guy like that and had power, he folded like a cheap lawn chair. Like a cheap lawn chair. He folded. That's what happened to Chris Colbert, and Hector Garcia was the beneficiary about that. Shout out to Hector Luis Garcia, man. Dominican. De lo mío. So, Hector Luis Garcia, I was worried. I thought that they were going to do, since he was the PBC fighter, the Samson Lukovic fight on the PBC card, I thought that they were going to somehow make him fight Chris Colbert again, or, and I wouldn't have recommended that he'd fight Chris Colbert again, because we'd all saw what would happen, what would be the blueprint for Chris Colbert had they rematched. Because what happened was that Chris Colbert, after getting beat up for 10 rounds, for 8 or 10 rounds or whatever, I think it was 10 rounds, decided to just literally run the next 2 rounds. Literally run. And I think that having seen that he survived the last 2 rounds like that, I think if they would have rematched, he would have just decided to literally run in the rematch. And he might have gotten a decision that way, a la Guillermo Rigondeaux, right? But thank God that didn't happen. I'm sure that Hector Luis Garcia was approached by his inner circle, or by people at PBC to maybe swayed him to give that rematch to Chris Colbert, but he said, no, I'm already in pole position. I'll be the one to take on Roger Gutierrez. And that brings us to tonight. The reason why it's so important, this fight is very important, is because we could be seeing the next opponent for Shakur Stevenson, right? We could be seeing that. We know that if Roger Gutierrez wins and beats Hector Luis Garcia and becomes, solidified as the WBA champ, we know that him being a Golden Boy fighter would end up with him probably unifying versus Shakur Stevenson. We know that because Golden Boy and Top Rank, they do business. They do business. You know, I like the relationship between Golden Boy and Top Rank. I like that they're able to seamlessly, go back and forth and do business and stuff. I don't know if the fact that Sinisa Estrada left Golden Boy to go to Top Rank, if that might change anything. I don't think so, but I don't think so. I think there's too much history between the two companies, too many good communications between the two companies. The heads of the company, Bob Arum and Oscar De La Hoya, they really see eye to eye. There's no animosity between them. So it's a fight that would probably take place. And Roger Gutierrez would cash a good, nice check against Shakur Stevenson, and so would Hector Luis Garcia. But again, Samson Lukovitz hates Bob Arum. He just hates him. He's not open to co-promoting with Top Rank. The fact that Bob Arum tried to, do a hostile takeover of Benavidez's contract like 4 or 5 years ago, probably doesn't bear well on the fact, doesn't bear well on their relationship, but that's neither here nor there. So I'll be rooting for Roger Gutierrez. I would like Roger Gutierrez to win because the pathway to a unification versus Shakur would be a lot easier. But I think Hector Luis Garcia has what it takes to beat Roger Gutierrez. He has enough power, and he's never been stopped. He is a come-forward fighter, and Roger Gutierrez is 26-3 with 20 knockouts, and he could really, really hit hard. But Hector Luis Garcia is no slouch. He's been training with Ismael Salas, and I don't know why he changed that, but I think that he has enough boxing skill. He showed a lot of boxing skill against Chris Colbert. I like the way that he pressured him. I like the way he came forward. I like his heart. But I also know that Roger Gutierrez has already been knocked out twice in his career. So he has his flaws. Now, the history of this fight was, I was very excited about the fact that it was slated to take place in Venezuela. I would have loved for that fight to take place in Venezuela. It would have been a championship fight taking place in a South American, Latin American country. And we haven't seen that since the, Sebio Pedraza days, since the, Roberto Duran days. That doesn't usually happen anymore. And Hector Luis Garcia versus Roger Gutierrez fight for the WBA junior lightweight title in Venezuela would have been, a throwback type of event, So I was looking forward to that, but alas, it didn't happen. We have it taking place tonight. I'm not sure where this fight is going to be, actually, but it is going to be on Showtime. I don't know the venue. And it's a great fight because, again, it's a fight that determines. There's a lot of storylines that it moves forward to. It can tie into a Shakur's fight. It can tie in to a possible fight in the UK for one of those 130-pounders that what's his name's got? Eddie Hearn, right? So it's a fight that it has legs to it, It has it can evolve into something bigger. Meanwhile, the headline, Sergey Lipinets versus Omar Figueroa, those two fighters are going nowhere. They're food. They're going nowhere. They're food. They're food for Gary Antoine Russell. They're food. That's what they are. Food. You know. They're placeholders. They might one of them fight that guy on the undercard that's also there tonight. The WBA junior welterweight strap that was just vacated by Josh Taylor. You know, so you know it's a good card. It's a really good card by Showtime. I'm not even gonna lie. The main event, Omar Figueroa against Sergey Lipinets, it's an entertaining one. It's not of interest of mine though, because I already seen Omar Figueroa and I already seen Sergey Lipinets. They're not elite. You know, I don't really like those. Are two gatekeepers. It's a gatekeeper fight. Bottom line, but the Puello fight under you know. I don't know the fighters. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. I'm going to reserve judgment on that event. But what I do know is, having seen these two fighters, Hector Luis Garcia and Roger Gutierrez, it's a good fight. It's a great fight. It's going to be a very entertaining match, which with some really considerable ramifications for the WBA junior lightweight title moving forward. And so, you know, tune in. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. Next Level Boxing Talk, baby. I'm out.